probable about Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. I think. Well, there's a couple of things. By the way, we are live with you on this Monday morning after the Super Bowl. I'm New York Vinnie. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and down there in beautiful Pasadena, California.
I'm Michael Knight,
Yeah, and
and we're both in the basking in the glow of a great football game. I know that when you watch sports at a championship level, where it be the NBA playoffs or the World Series or whatever the case may be, when you see pitchers, catchers, 3-point shooters, or wide receivers at their very best, when you see the best tight ends and quarterbacks in the business, you don't have to know anything about the sport. You don't have to understand the X's and O's. Just watch the magic and the ballet and the movement and the achievement and the frustration and the success, and it's a renewing aspect of the human condition that we would have lives as impossible and as difficult as they really are, and then we make them more impossible by playing a game that has silly rules and prevents us from doing how we want to do it. You have to do it this way. No, you can't run like that. It's fourth down. Well, but I want to. No, you got to follow the rules. You got to go. You got to go with the flow. And I'm glad the Eagles didn't win for only one reason. If they had, everyone would have said it's because they go on fourth down. That's it. We're all going on fourth down. Pop Warner teams, they tried for it on fourth. It's 4th and 15. We got a shot. The Eagles proved it. The Eagles proved the numbers are in our factor. The factor is that we can go for it on fourth down and achieve it more often than not,
well, let's
and
turn it.
change the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny how when somebody does something so successfully to get to the Super Bowl that every other team, not every other team, but many other teams. I mean, how many teams installed the West Coast offense after the 49ers went to the Super Bowl the first time in the early
Every team with a tight end.
Yeah, and while, yeah, I mean, imitation, I guess, the sincerest form of flattery. I don't know.
Actually,
Sometimes you got to.
isn't it the cheapest form of flattery? Hey, you did it. I'm going to do it too.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a good argument there. I mean, if everybody starts looking at what you're doing and starts doing it because you're successful, the problem is that once everybody starts doing it, then you're doing the same thing as everybody else, and maybe it becomes less successful.
Something happened yesterday in the game that I haven't heard of spoken of accurately and sincerely since the 49er days. One
We
of the
put a
things the
pregnant
49
woman up on a platform, 100 feet above the field. Was that it?
I watched all the commercials that I could. I couldn't watch the halftime show. I just said enough already. Is she really up there, or is this some sort of shot,
Yeah.
weird
What
computer
what what
generated?
was it, Michael? What did you hear?
That at the halftime they did something that most teams don't do anymore. They adjusted to the approach that the Eagles were taking. The Kansas City Chiefs with old Andy Reid, who was with the Eagles for 14 seasons. If you could, it didn't seem that long in my
Yeah,
memory.
no, it was a long time. It must have been interesting for him to beat that team.
Go back in time and do something that Bill Walsh did. And the reason I know this is because I'm a 49er fan. They did halftime adjustments. They were famous for it. They would see what you were doing. They would make you do it in front of them so they could see how the offense could adjust to that defensive situation. And they would force you into showing your hand to the degree that they could adjust to it. They would adjust to the short pass. They would adjust to the run over a tackle to the left side instead of the right side. They would adjust to the crossing pass because it seemed to be effective. They would make adjustments that make the difference in the game. And everybody's had struggles with the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. They're predators. They can't be stopped. And yet Kansas City stopped them, not for one quarter, but for 4 quarters. There were no sacks of that changed the structure of the game. There was no stopping of the running game that made it impossible for Kansas City to proceed. They whatever they turned their hand to, they succeeded, and when they didn't, they adjusted at halftime to make the difference. And I'm just telling you, that was, if not the difference in the game, certainly the turning point.
Well, they certainly, yeah. I mean, they absolutely adjusted. They certainly found Juju Smith-Schuster, who had, I don't even know if he had a touch in the first half of the game, but all of a sudden, and it seemed to me that Philadelphia kept leaving them wide open. I mean,
Yep.
here's a guy who they just discount. It seemed that Philadelphia came out and just discounted. They'd rather double somebody else up than go after Juju. And from his Pittsburgh days, uh, we know that Juju is a more than capable player, and if you leave him open, he's going to burn you. He may have lost a step, but he's got speed. He's got football smarts. It was unconscionable to me for a while that they would leave him open like that. I mean, how do you not account for this guy? But yet, a few times. I mean, what did he have? Three or four catches in a row, 7 catches, 8 catches in the second half. I forget the numbers.
That's a funny thing about wide receivers who are going to, the Jerry Rice factor, they're going to throw to him and you still can't stop him. Well, you try and cover Jerry Rice. You try and cover Kadarius Toney. You get out there and watch how quickly he separates himself. And in fact, speaking of Kadarius Toney, there's a guy who with the longest punt return in Super Bowl history was one of those guys who came out of the crowd and made a difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think many people in our sports observant business handed this thing to the Eagles. Just said that they were the better team and this and that. I don't. I didn't believe that. I think they're. I'll go back. I think they're the better team when you look at it by position, but it's not always. It's never position by position.
That ain't the way
It's
it
always
works.
how those positions come together in the hour that you got to be out on the field. And when it came down to brass tacks, Philadelphia committed a stupid penalty at the worst possible time.
Yep.
Then I don't know. You could even make a case that penalty probably should have been called, but it was. And I have to take issue with the Fox. Who was it? Greg Olson,
Yeah.
I guess it was on Fox, who says, "Well, you should just let him play." Well, I'm sorry, but if something is a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's not a penalty, you don't call it. You don't just let them play.
He's
I
the
mean,
new
it's-
Troy Aikman for Fox. He's still young.
Yeah, it's just this stupid kind of mentality. You hear it all the time. Let them play. Let them play. No, if they commit something that's not. Now, if somebody commits a ticky-tack foul or something like that, yeah, maybe you got a case. But it's human nature. I mean, if they do something that 700 million people around the world can see, and you don't call it, who's the idiot?
Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted the game to be decided on a play that was not called, that was ignored or missed.
Right, because
And
we know what that feels like here in Seattle.
Yeah, we do. And the idea of grabbing a guy's shirt twice in the first 5 yards, that's a penalty. Now, it wasn't an egregious penalty. He didn't knock him down. He didn't grab him by the face mask. And that's not the point. Can you grab a guy by the shirt when he comes off the line of scrimmage? No, you may not. And that's the end of that story.
If you grab him by the shirt, it's a penalty and you call it.
And what about the idea of these big guys pounding into each other the whole game? The idea of the arms up and crushing position, the bull rush is just as effective as grabbing the guy by the shirt. As soon as you grab the guy by the shirt, he's got you as well because you're connected to him. You can't let go when you want to. And invariably, when you do that right in front of the referee, you're going to get a flag. And it may have decided the game. I'll tell you what, I think that Kansas City was going to find a way to win regardless. And I didn't feel that way until the second half started and they started playing more like themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mikey. I saw the way they came out of the locker room. I saw when they started driving up the field in the second half that they were just making things happen that they weren't making happen in the first half. They were gaining yards that they wouldn't have gained before. They were catching balls that previously had they got sharper. I don't know that they improved. The only one improvement that I saw, one difference was seeing Juju, get more involved in the game. Other than that, I don't know. Was there much of a difference in the way they played? No. Were they sharper? Did they catch balls that were thrown to them? Did they go for yards after catch? Did they do things like that in the second half that they weren't doing in the first half? Yes. They went back to being the Kansas City that people expected to be out there.
Now, how did you feel when you saw Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, clearly in a lot of pain? Not just pain; he wasn't in discomfort. He was in such pain that he had no place to go. He was going to go straight up in the air.
I didn't. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I didn't perceive. I just didn't perceive it to be as serious as they were making it out to be. I mean, how did they open the post game show? They started showing like Heisman's broken legs and this, that, the other thing, and Patrick Mahomes coming back. I mean, I thought he tweaked his ankle, and I knew he had a previous injury. I
Yeah,
knew it hurt, but they were going to give him something for the pain, so that was going to go away.
halftime
Um,
helped.
yeah, halftime helped. He got to just sit there and rest it and not have to go back out on the field. And I just never felt, and I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer. I don't know, but I just never felt it was as serious as everybody was making it out to be. It wasn't. He was coming back out in the second half of that game if he had to do it with splints uh, wrapped up on his leg. He was coming back out
He's
in
going to
the
play
second
quarterback.
half.
Going to play quarterback on an aluminum gurney.
He'll do it if they got to wheel him around, man.
Yep,
What was
yep.
that commercial? They had the guy in the scooter going around a couple of years ago. He'll do it like that, man. I mean, he's got youth on his side. He
He's got
doesn't have to rest it for tomorrow or next week or a month from now because there's no tomorrow. This is it.
and Vinny. He's got youth, good looks, extraordinary abilities. He's he's a big kid. He's a champion from the past. He's going to be a champion in the future, and he's the most likable of all the super successful quarterbacks. He's got a youthfulness about him that is compelling, and he was pretty jacked up at the end of that game.
Yeah, he's got.
He
You're
was
right,
jacked
Michael.
up.
He's got something. He's got an accessibility about him.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, um, you know, everybody wants him to be their son.
yeah.
Everybody wants him to be their cousin, their family member. He just has that all American type of kid next door
Yeah.
type of thing about him that is worth a gazillion dollars. Not just in just what he's going to make, but in his image, in his bank, in his Q rating, in all of the things that make you, if you are in the entertainment business, which he is. I always consider players to be in the entertainment business.
And
Um,
ask
if
Gronk. Ask Gronk if he's
Yeah,
an entertainer.
yeah, that's gonna move you along. It's something that, to be honest with you, I don't know that Tom Brady has it as good as Patrick Mahomes. I
There's
don't.
a lot more distance there. Brady is got the 1,000 yard stare. He's in the room with you, but he's not with you.
He's thinking, weeks ahead of time. He's got 9 million other things. This kid looks present. You're,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. He looks present. He looks like he's there. He looks like he's there when he's doing a commercial. He looks like he's there when he is out on the field. He looks like he is in the place. You're exactly right. And it was kind of the knock on Joe Montana a little bit is that he's had that same kind of I'm good, I'm a nice guy, but I don't know if you'd really want to go sit down and have dinner with me.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady to me has always been. Now you could say it's marred by the cheating stuff and this and that and the other thing, um, but it's always seemed like Tom Brady, as great as he is, and is he the greatest of all time? I guess you get people, Namath had it like that. Namath, if you were an East Side ball going lout, you'd probably want to hang out with Joe Namath. If you
Right.
were, Father Sullivan, maybe not so
Maybe
much.
not so much. Joe, have you come to find the Lord as your Savior? Not quite yet, Fada, but that's on my list.
Well, you loved him. I mean, you loved Joe Willie. I mean, but you loved him for all the wrong reasons. You loved him
Yeah.
because he was he bucked the system, and you loved him because he messed with the girls back in the Playboy Club era. You loved him because he wore pantyhose on the field to keep his legs warm. You loved him. Patrick Mahomes has the Kansas City. Did you ever meet anybody from Kansas City you didn't like?
That I guess no. To my knowledge, no.
Even in the movie Casino, the mob guys from Kansas City
They
are
messed
kind of the
everything up.
nice guys.
Yeah. That's why they had the microphone in their store.
Right. They're,
Yeah.
they're the nice guys. They're Remo and those boys. I mean, they were just as vicious as everybody else. They
Now, if
played
you
the
don't,
game.
now, if you don't like Kansas City, you got a problem because I heard something yesterday that I did not know until last night, and that is Kansas City has 11 draft picks coming up this year. 11 through trades and turnarounds and situations. They put themselves in this. If you want to talk about dynasty, well, it's too early to talk about a dynasty, but they've won 2 out of 4. They're a complete team in every way.
Yeah, they're a predominant team in the last 5 years.
So if you're going to improve that team, one way to do it would be with 11 draft picks. So Andy Reid, get out your pencil and your bring your team around you. By the way, he thanked Eric Bieniemy 3 times on network television. So look out, Eric Bieniemy. I don't know where you're going, but you just got endorsed by the best, and that means that you're going to be a head coach somewhere soon.
Yeah, that's the yeah. And what about and can we get rid of Terry Bradshaw now? Can we please just send him off? Find a horse that'll fit on, and send him off. Send him off into the sunset.
What did he do yesterday to embarrass you?
I'm a Terry Bradshaw fan. I like Terry Bradshaw. I think he's harmless. I think it's very true about what they say about him that he couldn't spell cat if you spotted him the C and the T. But first of all, I didn't like. I really didn't like the Waddle remark to Andy Reid. Now, obviously, Andy Reid is a guy that's a big, overweight guy. I'm a big, overweight guy. I know.
Waddle over here?
Yeah, I don't need you to remind me that I'm a big guy. And especially not in one of the greatest moments of my life for you to tell me to waddle over here. That's locker room crap from, listen, I've gone through that all my life. I know what that is. You don't say anything. You play along with it. You keep your mouth shut. You just let him. But Terry Bradshaw embarrassed himself. He did what I think would be impossible. He embarrassed Fox, which I would have to be,
Oh, no, he didn't. That's just the kind of crap that they deal in. That's their currency.
And I hate that locker room clubhouse crap. I put up with it for years. I know what it's like. I hate it. And for him to to embarrass Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's too much of a gentleman to really probably even make anything about it, but for him to embarrass Andy Reid about that and to tell him to waddle over here, and he said something else too as the show went on about his weight. I'm sorry.
And that's all you have to say? You mean you were so ill prepared? You had no questions. Didn't the producer write 5 questions for Terry Bradshaw? No, they didn't.
But he couldn't read them if he did. I mean, I guess to me, it's just become this, it's not a funny joke anymore. You may think it's funny if you're skinny, and you may think it's funny, but look around at America. He didn't just insult Andy Reid yesterday. He insulted a pretty damn close to 50% of Americans yesterday.
Not only that, he insulted the champ. He's got the champion right there in front of him. He's got the head coach of the best team in football this year, and that's the level of conversation that they're dealing with. When you have a champion and his moment of receiving the championship trophy, a little respect and what I call the solution to all media problems, some preparation wouldn't have hurt. If he had just been prepared, he wouldn't have embarrassed himself and Andy Reid and the network. He would have asked a sensible question and moved on with it.
I'll be honest with you. I'll bet you he was prepared. I can't see that you send somebody up to a podium like that and you don't prepare him. You got to have. I mean, he's definitely got at least one producer assigned to him. They definitely have at least one writer that's given him cards or some kind of, I don't know, I doubt he's looking at a prompter, but that's given him cards. So there's at least two people assigned to give him 5 things that he needs to say up there. Congratulations, here's the thing, you won it 2 years ago. How does it feel? Who do you want to say hello to? Good night, goodbye, here's Patrick Mahomes.
What did you say? Yeah, what did you, how did you get a report at halftime that Mahomes could go on? Did you know that he could play?
What did you do at halftime? What did you say to them at halftime? Really, that's all that needs to be. So one fact about the game, one congratulations, that's it. You don't need to call people names, and you don't need to insult somebody by telling them to waddle over. And I'm sorry if you think, or anybody, not you, Michael, but if you that are listening think that I'm oversensitive about this, but I've heard it time and time again throughout my entire life. I know other people who are big that have heard it and have just kept silent about it. And to me, it's just inexcusable that in 2023, at a major national celebration like that now if he said it too, they're sitting in a restaurant together. Hey, Andy, waddle over. It's still not right, but it's in a private moment between two people.
Yeah, and then Andy could say, "Why don't you shut the fuck up?"
Right, and then Andy could say, "How about this? Here, here's 5 from me," and put it right in his maul. But for Fox to let that go. Now, I didn't see this morning if there was any kind of, anybody was talking about it. I didn't look at Twitter yesterday. Imagine that. I did not look at Twitter yesterday.
I don't think people expect that much out of the Fox team. They've got more. They've got how many guys do they need to tell you that Philadelphia is going to win? They all picked the wrong team, so they're not exactly geniuses. Nobody said, you know what? Everybody's going for the Eagles. I think I'm going to pick Kansas City. They're a great team. They got a chance. They're here today. Why can't they win?
Yeah, I mean, listen. I like Strahan. I think he's a good all-purpose guy. I think he does a great job at what he does, and he's proven that he's got talent, but. Short of Strahan and Menifee, who's a good traffic cop.
Yeah.
There's nobody on that.
What's the deal with Howie Long? Does he seem angry all the time? Does he seem distant? What he's got a disconnect there that I don't understand.
I wonder if there's something wrong with him. I wonder if there's something going on that maybe hasn't been made public, or whether it's public and I just didn't see it. But no, I noticed that all season, that he just never seemed to be, he's not the Howie Long of 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
And then they bring in Gronkowski and sit it next to him, and Howie Long can count the days. Wait till my envelope is coming, and I don't know when, but I know it's on its way.
Yeah. I mean, you really, because you got to think that with Brady signed in the contract with Fox, he's taking the year off. But with Brady signing the contract, then of course Gronkowski's coming there.
And can you believe how much bigger Gronkowski is than Howie Long or Strahan or anybody else on the set? My God,
he's a large dude, man.
He is a big dude, a big item.
He doesn't look it on television. He doesn't look as big as he is.
We put him next to a couple defensive linemen, and he towers over them.
I mean, I've talked to him. I've stood next to him, and he is a large dude.
And he's lovable. He can do anything. He can sell margarine. He can sell shoes. He can
I
talk
don't
about.
like the shoe commercial. I think the shoe commercial is stupid.
Well, there it is, though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
how much Gronk did you see yesterday? Besides being in the pregame show, he was in every other commercial.
Oh yeah, no, he is. He listen. He and Brady are going to be the. He, Brady, Tony Romo, and there's another name in it. Probably Strahan too, and to a certain extent, they're going to be the face of football going forward. That's where our kids are going to be watching.
I'm
Uh,
surprised
you
at
know,
Romo. Romo is always surprising me because I didn't think much of him as a player, but as an analyst, I think he's good.
yeah, yeah. I think sometimes Romo gets a little too over the top with some of the stuff. There's a line there, Michael, where, and you know this as well as I do, you never want to try to look smarter than the coach. You never want to look smarter than, or, yeah, it's not a good thing to look. It's you can certainly question a coach's move, but it's not good to look smarter or think you know more than the guys that are on the field,
You
even if
know,
you played the game.
there's nothing wrong with just saying, let's see how this is going to come out. Here it is. It's
Right.
third and long. They're going for it. I would have punted, but let's see how it comes out. Maybe they got a secret plan.
But yeah, I like Romo. I think he brings it to the game. He's not afraid to criticize people. I just think that there are times when his timing of the criticism,
Hmm.
especially a couple of times I've seen him criticize something that's turned around and worked,
Yeah.
which is embarrassing for nobody but him. And I'm sure that some coaches jotted down a little note, sent it up to the booth, saying, "Hey, how you like that, asshole?"
Well, Travis Kelsey yesterday took it to the Fox guys saying, not one of you,
Right.
of all you experts, not one said Kansas City.
Right. He definitely was upset about that. And although again, should he be on national TV now? Again, I don't care if he goes to the Fox room, their dressing room, and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, good predicting, fellas. Nice
Yeah,
job."
you
Yeah,
guys are pros.
yeah, because you guys know what you're doing. Yeah,
Right.
and then walk away. But again, at a celebration, and I realize there's a lot of emotion going on and stuff like that. But
There was some adrenaline in the room.
yeah, yeah, there was some. That was the one of the not as bad as the Will Clark F moment, but it was the same kind of energy that was moving around the place.
Will Clark was funny because when he gets excited, he becomes a castrati. He goes way up there. Look out, everybody.
He really does.
He was a Will Clark. Remember they called him the Noozler because when he would get serious, he'd get a
Yeah, get that
get
dog
a
face
he'd
on.
get the dog face on, and he'd hold it. He'd keep it for an inning or two, and they called it the Noozler.
Oh man, oh man. What did you think? So you didn't see the halftime show?
I saw the first part of it when she was balanced up there, and
I
I
would.
just I just said I got stuff to do. I went to the kitchen.
Well, it's funny because once I saw she was pregnant, I was like, "What are they doing?" I mean, I
They got
listen.
her
I
tied to this plexiglass thing, 48,000 feet in the air. They could have shot her down if she had been over Alaska.
Yeah, I just looked at her and said, I've known many pregnant women in my life, and I've known that many of them did not had balance issues.
Yeah.
And I know you've done this before, but there's something about that.
And what's
That
your
was
name? My name is Barbara. And what did you do, Barbara? I was one of the mice that was also attached to a plexiglass thing. I was on the far left, all the way down by the 20-yard line. No one ever
okay.
saw me.
I'm not a Rihanna fan. I mean, yeah, she's a pop music phenomena icon, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a big fan, so I didn't get much out of it. I didn't even know the song she was singing, to be honest with you.
Well, it
Uh,
wasn't a memorable tune, and it just wasn't,
it wasn't.
it
It
was,
wasn't.
it wasn't. It
Yeah,
just
I mean,
wasn't there.
all these people are saying, "Oh, she slammed it. She's dunked it. Oh, it's a great." I don't know. It
She didn't
was.
fall off. That
Yeah,
was,
she didn't fall off, and she showed the world she was pregnant. That's what she accomplished. It was, yeah, in essence, it was the world's largest. I don't even know if it was a gender reveal party. It was the largest "I'm pregnant" party that I've ever seen.
And the whole
I
thing was supposed
just,
to be like this was supposed to be her comeback from her last pregnancy.
yeah. Well,
And
guess what?
this is what happens when you're pregnant. The body likes to stay pregnant, as we know.
Well, God bless her. I hope everything is okay. I hope she should have a masculine child.
Oh, Luca.
Poco Brazzi.
Oh, Luca.
But I don't know. Commercials. There was some
Commercials,
good ones.
I didn't get too excited about the commercials. I made some
I
notes
think
about
the
them.
J Lo Ben Affleck one was pretty funny with
Oh,
him working in
when
Dunkin'
he's
Donuts.
working, he's by the way, he's good. He's very good with the customers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Is this where you're going every day? I thought that was good, and I thought the Caddyshack takeoff
Oh yeah, that was
was good. Um, Other than that, I don't know if there was anything else. Oh, and you know what? The Rockstar thing was actually pretty good.
that was from Workforce, who fired 3% of their work staff the week before they spent a fortune on the Super Bowl commercial. And
Guess
by
you're
the
not a
way,
rock star.
when you have rock stars in your commercial, you have to pay them as rock stars. So how much did that one cost just to get the people involved? Hi, I'm Oswald. You get Ozzy Osbourne and Paul Stanley and other handful of walk-on rock stars. Everybody wants their piece of the pie. So before you even buy the time, $7 million to put that on the
Yeah,
air, you gotta pay 25, $35 million just to get it together, plus the
right.
production cost.
But to be fair, you have probably half of America this morning going to work and calling the guy at the desk next to them rock star.
Oh yeah,
And I
exactly.
guess that counts for something. I don't know if more people are going to go to their website to partake in their services, except for the people that they fired.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be a bump from those people, but I don't see that they're going to have a ton of great. You know, I think if you're looking for those kind of services, you find them, right?
Plus, Ozzy Osbourne was pretty funny when he was saying, "I've done a lot of crazy things and I've done a lot of weird things in my life, and I've done all your weird things too."
Yeah, I
I
thought
like
that
that. I
was a
like
great
that.
line. Oh, it was a good commercial. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a great commercial. I just wonder, except for status, if they recover the money that they spend on those commercials. I've
No,
always wondered that, though.
if you're selling widgets, you can at least count your sales. But how can you measure the success of a commercial for someone who offers a service?
Yeah, I think well, I guess if people are clicking on your website, you can. Um, Again, hey, I'm glad that they made enough money to support putting the game on the air because it's only a matter of time. You know it as well as I do that we're going to have to pay to see the Super Bowl. It's the NFL's model. They've wanted to do it for years.
The funny thing about the game is every aspect of the game. The coin toss is sponsored. The kickoff is sponsored. The halftime show is sponsored. The pregame show is sponsored from dawn before the sun comes up. They're out there touting the game. I understand all that, but they sell every aspect of it right on down the line,
Yeah.
and sometimes they sell it twice. They'll sell the coin toss, but they sell the introduction to the coin toss, and it gets to be kind of thick. You wonder after how many introductions are we actually going to get to the guy who tosses the coin.
Well, I'm surprised they don't have heads is brought to you by,
Yeah,
Mucinex, and tails is brought to you by,
liquid
some kind
Tylenol.
of diapers. I mean,
Good. Hey, they haven't thought of that. They've got your information now. They can do it for next week.
right, right. I'm sure next year I'm sure they're monitoring all of these shows that are going on, and they're keeping an eye on things.
Now, if you're a football fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Atlanta Falcons, look at your team, and what do you see compared to the teams you saw yesterday? You
Well, I don't know.
see these extraordinary players succeed in all their positions. You see the Eagles with winners up and down the line, and people to back them up if they get hurt or if they age out. Does your team look like that? Do you have a team that you would put up against Kansas City or Philadelphia, knowing that they had a real chance to win? How do you feel about your team compared to what you just saw yesterday?
I think it must have irked Steeler fans watching yesterday's game because, to watch William Gay and to watch Juju Smith Schuster and to watch, I forget, there was a couple other players from the Steelers' better days on those rosters, all guys that were either cut or not re-signed by the Steelers. Juju Smith-Schuster, especially one that, well, he couldn't cut it in Pittsburgh. He was too much of a clown to cut it in Pittsburgh. They've got so much better than him.
He didn't look
Well,
like a clown yesterday.
yeah, he didn't look like a clown in that third quarter, I'll tell you that. Looked like a man who knew how to move a football up a field, which he always was. And so I think if you're a Steelers fan, you're looking at that team. You see, as you can say for many teams, I mean, many
Yeah.
teams have players from, but there's a certain thing about the Steelers that's happened over the last couple of years where they let these guys go and they become successful in other places,
Yeah.
way successful, and you do have to kind of scratch your head a little bit and say, okay, well, what's going on here? Why is it laying out like this? Why are there all of these players on other teams that were good on our team? It's not like they were bad. It's not like a Nolan Ryan thing where we always point to that as a Met fan and say that's the worst trade in franchise history. But no, I don't think anybody knew that Nolan Ryan was going to become what he became when the Mets traded him for Jim Fregosi. They had a young guy who could throw the ball hard, but I just don't know if they knew what to do with it. Anyway, so there's always that factor, but these are guys that were functioning well as Steelers, and for whatever reason weren't re-signed, weren't included in the Steelers' plans, and showed that they'll get to the Super Bowl yesterday without the Steelers.
One thing it's hard to accurately ascertain is when those decisions are made just before the season starts. You have to cut somebody that you would love to keep. You have to cut talented people who were talented enough to make your team for preseason, but now you got to cut 5 more to get down to your 40-man roster. And
Yeah.
who are you gonna pick? Well, you got to pick somebody that already has made it in the NFL, somebody who is suited up and made it on your team, and you're going to send them somewhere else, and you don't know where they're going to land, but you can't keep them, and it must absolutely drive you crazy to take real talent, which is what you need, and say you got to go. Playbook,
Yeah,
please.
I would imagine. Yeah, I don't blame. I don't blame the front office because I know he always did. With every general manager, there's decisions that have to be made that are either good or not good. That are going to cause you problems in the future. There's always. I mean, look at the Giants, the Mariners, the Mets. I mean, there's guys that have made it in all different places, but it doesn't make it less painful when you're a fan of that team and you're watching those guys in another uniform in a game like the Super Bowl. It doesn't make it any better
No.
to know all of that stuff. Mikey, you know what happens this week, right?
Valentine's Day.
Better than that.
We shot down another balloon.
Even better than that, and we'll get to that in a minute. Even better than that.
I don't know what.
Pitchers and catchers report.
Oh, baseball.
Mikey.
We got some baseball. Now, unfortunately, the Giants have a lot of pitchers and catchers that you've never heard of. So when they the first thing they have to do when they get to Phoenix is introduce himself to the guy who lets them in the clubhouse
Yeah, yeah.
Because we don't know anybody on the Giants this year.
You got to talk to the clubby. You got to take care of the clubby first thing you come in. You got to familiarize yourself with that he is the most important, the clubby crew, the most important crew that you're going to meet,
They're
especially.
going to keep you alive for all 160,000 games.
Well, even if you don't last that long, even if you're on the first tap out, you still want to have clean underwear in your locker. The stuff that goes on. The everyday business of being in Arizona or Florida can be made much simpler by your clubhouse attendants and
And
how
if you
they.
got a kid who's never used a washing machine before, just say you're washing the underwear of millionaires. These are particular people who want it just so. Don't make
Yeah.
me come in here. Don't make me come in here in 5 minutes and find out that you don't know how to use a washing machine, because you're going to be using one for quite a while.
Well, I think the smart clubbies probably send the underwear out. I mean, I may be wrong on this one, but
I don't
uh,
know.
if you're,
That's a good question. The inner workings of
I'll
a clubhouse.
I'll have to ask my friend Billy and see what they do. I don't know if they. I mean, I think underwear probably. I mean, the jock straps and stuff they get cleaned by the clubbies, I'm sure. Um, and I know
But
this.
all the t-shirts, all the shorts, all the pants, all the.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
all of that
it's a
stuff.
lot of laundry.
It's a ton of laundry. I mean, there's probably somebody who does laundry is doing laundry pretty close to 24/7
I think you're
in the
right.
clubhouse.
Right.
You can go there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's somebody, snoozing by those machines until the buzzer goes off and says dry. And then has to fold them and put them in everybody's locker. And there's some guys that want to fold it a certain way. If you're, if you're
Superstitious.
if you're the in the over 50, it's funny. We used to call them the over 60 club, and those were players that were there for spring training, and they would assign them numbers 60 and above
Right.
because nobody really had those numbers. But nowadays in baseball, everybody has weird numbers. I mean, how many guys are wearing number 75 in the major leagues? And which has always seemed weird to me. But your what is it? Your biggest offseason acquisition for the Yankees wears number 99.
He
So
does indeed, and now a lot of other big guys are wearing it. Usually, your big guy, your big slugger, would wear 44 or something like that.
yeah, 44 or the big sluggers would always be somewhere in the low 40s, and the relief pitchers would always be somewhere in the high 40s, 45, 46,
Yep.
47.
Right.
I mean, that's how they kind of divided that up.
That
And
would have been a pitcher's number.
other relievers were usually, most pitchers were in the 30s. Most infielders were in the single digits or low doubles. Um, you know, Probably 21 was as high as you would see an infielder go, and then the outfielders were usually all in the 20s
And pitchers
or
too
low 30s.
sometimes.
Yeah, and some pitchers, yeah. Um,
Well, part of the problem is we retired a lot of numbers. Like the Giants hardly have any 20s left because 24, 27, they're all gone. 20 is all gone.
yeah, Yankees too, and then you have 42, which is completely out of circulation. I also think that at some point in the not too distant future, 21 is going to come out of circulation.
You know,
Uh,
they pulled Roberto Clemente's book from the schools in
I saw
Florida,
that.
thanks to Ron DeSantis. Ron, I hate you, DeSantis.
Yeah, I
Well,
saw that.
Roberto Clemente will prevail over Ron DeSantis. In the long arc of fairness in the world, DeSantis will be forgotten as a pugnacious little fascist, and Roberto Clemente will be remembered as a great man.
I certainly hope so. Well, I mean, Ron DeSantis couldn't kiss Roberto Clemente's feet. I mean, Roberto Clemente was a guy who got in a plane and took relief supplies, or tried to take him to Nicaragua. Um, DeSantis, uh, the only thing he did with a plane is put people in it to get rid of him out of not even his state, out of
Yeah,
somebody else's state.
he shipped him to Massachusetts, thinking
Yeah,
it was a joke.
just Just a piece of crap. Speaking about planes and flying objects, Michael. So I got an idea. I want to
You
see
want to
what you
buy?
think about this.
You want to get in the balloon business? Don't tell me.
I want to. I think that the listeners of the Mikey and Vinnie show, and I know prayer cloths are coming. Believe
Yeah,
me, they're coming.
they're on order.
But I think we should. I think we should start a GoFundMe,
And
and
what's our purpose?
I think our purpose is to buy a gift certificate for both Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert for a balloon ride over Canada. You put them in a hot air balloon and you send them up over Canada.
Now we do. Do we have to alert NORAD, or will they be on? Will they
I'll
be
leave
watching?
that to you.
I'm going to send them one email, just as a heads up.
Usually that's all they need, Michael.
Well, I can't imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene going down in the Yukon. Going down on the Yukon, yes. In the Yukon, no.
I could imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene going down on a lot more than the Yukon.
What you have to watch for when you crash in a balloon in Canada, watch out for Bigfoot. That's one of the places that they go to relax during the off season, and they get very, very temperamental this time of year. Mating season with Bigfoot. There's no time to be bringing your balloon down in that neighborhood.
I mean, can you remember any period in our lives that we've shot that we weren't involved in a war, and even if we were involved in a war, that we shot things down over North America?
And where are they coming from? They've never once told me where they were launched from. They never once said we tracked it from this part to this part.
Well, there's a press conference going on right now. I don't know. I haven't seen anything come across my news feed, my news crawl. But I have to think that there's corporate stuff. I have to think that there's, all kinds of different, commercial balloons that are sent up to keep an eye on.
What if it's more sinister than that? It can be an enemy. It could be China. It could be Russia. But no one has seriously mentioned the fact that it just could be extraterrestrial activity, that these balloons are coming in from someplace else, and we can shoot them down or we can let them take over. But the fact is, they're coming from somewhere. We've never shot down balloons one a day like this. They're all coming from a certain direction. How come? How come they're all coming over from Canada, from Alaska? They're all coming down. We've shot them down, and we keep saying we're going to recover them and take a look at what it is, but we haven't got no information on what they recovered.
Well, where's the largest magnetic draw on Earth? Is the North Pole, right?
Yeah.
So if you're flying a spaceship that's a balloon in from wherever, where are you going to be attracted to?
Well, the balloon is not necessarily magnetic in any way. I mean, the area is.
I mean, nothing could be magnetic. I mean, we don't know where it's from. Could be if it's from Mars. There's
one that went down in Alaska, one that went down in Canada, one that went down near Lake Huron, and we don't have the results from the retrieval of the crash from any of those. So
right.
that makes me suspicious.
Well,
I think they could.
I'm looking at the. I'm trying to look at the news crawl here, and what's his name from the Department of for the Pentagon is up there.
Department of Balloons. Do we have a Department of Balloons?
We do now. Yeah. we did as of last week, because that's going to be on Biden's re-election literature. I created the Department of Balloons.
Secretary of Balloons. Did you say balloon or maroon? I said balloon.
Could you imagine? Some poor kid's going to be at the zoo, and he's going to buy a balloon. And some cop...
I'll have that.
Just blow the balloon out of his hands, I didn't hit the kid. I was going after the balloon.
Show me your hands. Show me your hands. All I got is a balloon. Kabloom.
Boom! There goes the balloon. Kids, you might not want to buy a balloon. So I'm thinking that we can start a GoFundMe and send both Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and a few other
they're not
Um,
best. They're not best pals anymore. They may not feel comfortable in the gondola of a hot air
well, we can send
balloon.
them in separate balloons. We can send them in different balloons. I
That's
mean, I'm
fine with
sure if
me.
you sent McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene up there in a balloon, that
They'd be happy.
they'd be happy with each other. He'd probably, Oh, and did you see the thing that he said?
Who?
McCarthy,
Kevin, young
Kevin
Kevin.
McCarthy, about he's going to meet with the five families.
Oh, brother.
Estes Kefauver must be spinning in his grave. Kids, go look it up.
Yeah.
Um,
What a name, by the way. They don't have names like Estes Kefauver anymore. That's for
no, they
damn
don't.
sure.
No, they don't. They don't. I texted that name to somebody, and she said, "What's that? What is that?" Uh, well, it's a long story. It has to do with Joe Valachi and Joe Colombo, and anyway, yeah, he says I'm going to meet with the five families. That's what we
who,
got. That's who
who's,
we have.
who are the five families for Kevin McCarthy? What was he referring to?
The Republican caucus.
Oh, oh.
I guess there's five factions in there, and he's trying to be. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, Matt Gaetz had Kevin McCarthy crapping in his pants. Could you even imagine Kevin McCarthy sitting down with the five families, the actual five families, and what that would look like?
Don Carlo Gambino would say, first, I'm going to talk. Then you can talk.
Then you're going to shut up.
Yeah. But first, I have something I want to say. First, you got to say hello to the other four families, and say and a piece on the side for the boys in Ohio with the Green Street Boys.
I mean, he. As I said when I heard it this morning, Senator Pat Geary has spoken.
I do remember she was laughing.
We've done it before.
Yeah. I don't like your shiny suits and your greasy hair, Mr. Corleone. Well,
Mr. Corleone. Mr. Corleone.
that will be then let this be the last conversation we have, Senator. We'll work on your problem on our end.
Yeah. You and your whole effing family. Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, that was
boy.
a mistake.
That was a mistake, man.
It was a terrible mistake.
his fate was sealed. That
Mario
was it.
Puzo in the Sicilian had an interesting learning experience from an older mafioso boy talking to a kid who's a tough guy. He said, "Yes, you're full of exuberance, and you make mistakes because you make enemies of men you don't know. Never make an enemy of a man you don't know."
Yeah. Could Mario Puzo be our greatest philosopher of the 20th century?
Well, I think right there with Spinoza. And why wouldn't he be one of the best? Because his ability to judge men and their reasons for doing things and their inner workings,
Yeah,
their hopes and dreams. He understood those.
it's really funny to me that we and I know we're over glandular about it. I mean, we're overactive about The Godfather because we've seen it so many times. I
But
know
that's
I
personal,
have,
not business.
but it's you think of all the philosophy that comes out of it. Whether it's stuff that would have fit in King Lear or stuff that would have fit in so many different other works of great playwrights or philosophers or so many other people who wrote about and observed the human condition. It all fits and it's all like in one place. Keep your friends close, your enemies.
Connie Corleone. Mama, tell him that's your father. There's nothing we can do. King Lear, when the first thing you mentioned was King Lear's daughters were a problem for him. Well, so it was with the Godfather. God, poor Connie. She was
Yeah.
loose ends at all for her whole life.
Yes,
Poor thing.
until three, where she proved to be the strongest one.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of interesting that she turned out to be, when you looked at it, the one who appointed the next Don.
Well, she got experience. She learned the family rules. She learned the family game. She learned it, and then she learned it the hard way.
Yeah, she looked. Yeah, I mean, she, through a series of failed marriages and murdered husbands, and so many other things that went on in her life. Um, she, yeah, she really, she was smart enough to take it and turn it into strength,
Yep.
as we saw in three. People knock three all the time, but there's so much there. If you go through it and you kind of slow down and stop thinking what a bad movie it is, um, and instead, take it as the third chapter of this saga that has been written. uh, you start to look at it in a different way. Nobody talks about the strength of Connie Corleone and how she's actually the best female part in that entire. Her mama too. I mean, Kay Corleone is really not much. Doesn't have
No.
a great part.
Nope. She doesn't.
She basically ascribes to Michael until she commits the one sin that Michael can never forgive.
That's and it was set up so she almost had to.
Yeah,
In terms of storyline, that's where she was headed in a self-destructive way.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't something that she took lightly, but because she knew. Uh, I mean, I don't know. If you subscribe to the many saints of Newark end of the mafia storytelling, that would probably result in their death.
Oh yeah. But the funny thing is, the family kept her close, no matter what her problems were,
Well, you had
and
to,
and that's something that not all families would do.
right? You had to keep her close because number one, she knew everything. So you certainly didn't want to let her get into the hands of the feds. And if you weren't going to kill her, you had to keep her in a place where she was a accessible, b, you could keep an eye on her, c, she was happier being what she was,
She got happier. She aged.
as opposed to what the feds would have done for her if they would have gotten her and somehow figured out a way to put pressure on her to talk.
Yeah.
And again, you can't get a wife to testify against their husband. Um, and I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know. Did they ever actually get? Well, they got divorced because she was married to somebody else in three. But at the end of two, and all that time, I don't even know that they got divorced.
That I don't know. That never didn't seem to come up. Now we have to turn to Mario Puzo for that, but he didn't write that part. He didn't write the future.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to. I mean, again, in three, as you see, they get. She's married to somebody else, so they had to get divorced at some point. But that would have been a way for them to keep her close because, again, a wife can't testify against her husband, so she's no use to the feds until she gets divorced, right?
Speaking of a strange family occurrence, have you been following the situation with Russell Wilson in Denver? His new coach is going to be Peyton from the Saints.
Right.
And they said, hey, well, Russell Wilson's got his own nutritionist, he's got his own coach, he's got his own backup man, he's got his own offensive coordinator, he's got his own staff, and they're in the building working just for him. And Sean Payton said, I don't understand that. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have any of that. You don't get your own coach. I'm the coach. And what we're doing is we're going to do it my way. And Russell Wilson, I don't know him well enough because I didn't follow his career from the Seattle side, has brought these people to bear upon his career. They keep him healthy. They keep him nutritious. They keep him on the plan, whatever the plan may be. Tom Brady has the same sort of thing. Has his own drink, has his own meal. He won't eat with the team because he's got nutritional needs that are separate and apart from the rest of the guys. And Peyton said, nah, not doing it that way. I'm the coach. You don't get to bring your own offensive coordinator in. You don't get to bring your own guy in. You don't get to bring your own staff in. That's not the way we're going to do it. That's going to upset Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could see if you want to have a nutrition coach, or if you want to, have some kind of. But there's something about. Listen, Mikey, you've had meals at practice facilities, at training facilities, much more when the Seahawks were training out in Cheney. And with the Steelers, they used to let the press in to have dinner and lunch there, and you would see the interaction between the quarterbacks, between the players at mealtime.
Yeah,
there was, quarterbacks got, sat with other quarterbacks, sat with their offensive line, sat with different people, and you could see right in front of your eyes the coming together of a team, of a concept that was more than just, there's something about breaking bread with people.
That's right.
That you sit there and it has an effect on people. You sit there and you eat meals, you take meals with them. And so I could see, Peyton in that regard saying, but the other side of the coin is if Brady has special nutritional needs, then you know what? His people should cook him a meal and should give it to him and go sit with your buddies and eat your meal.
Right, be with the team. It's important to be with the team. They don't care what you're eating, but if you're separate, that's Tom Brady's room. We don't go in there.
Right. No, unless it's really stinky ass stuff. I mean, I've been around some people who've had people cook for them, and it's vile. It's seaweed. Bombinosis or something like that. I don't know.
They eat a lot of that in Shpolpakia, the seaweed
bombinosis. Seaweed bombinosis. Yeah, the stands that sell it there.
They love it.
Get it hot or cold.
I can't explain it, but they love it. They eat it every day.
It's easy to explain. Seaweed is the national plant of Shpolpakia. So you can pick it out of the water. And
it's the national flower or plant or
plant. It's a plant. It's not a flower. It's a plant.
Well, okay.
Seaweed. So
they have because they have no coastline.
They have no coastline, so this is something that they aspire to. You have to bring it in.
you gotta tuck it in.
So if you're east and west along 66 or 66A, you're
never fired from Shpolpakian seaweed factory.
You're getting seaweed. But if you're north or south,
you're not getting any.
Until they put in 67, you're screwed, man.
I don't know how they're ever going to get that together. They can't get organized in terms of their budgetary and where they want it to be. They say that there's a faction that wants it to go just straight north and south in a straight line, and others that want the zigzag effect like 66A.
Well, see that, and that's going to wind up probably the same as 66 and 66A. You're going to have the straight line, and then you're going to have, although I don't think they'll probably call it 67A, they'll probably call it 67 business, because it'll hit all those small towns.
And I love a frontage road. There's nothing uglier in American life than just a bare, naked frontage road out there. Let's put some thought into it.
I've always wanted to traverse America by frontage road.
It can be done.
I think that it's something that you and I should aspire to. We should hit the road and just go on frontage roads,
Frontage,
front,
coast to coast.
coast to coast on frontage roads. America's frontage roads. There's a book there, Michael.
There's this television series there.
Yeah, America's frontage roads.
Where's Mikey and Vinnie? Well, they're in Elko, Nevada, looking for a frontage road, and there is.
Oh, they've matter of fact, a couple of years ago, what was it? 2 years ago, I did the tour through the Springsteen tour. That basically followed his car ride that he took before darkness on the edge of town, and it's the gas station that he was photographed at, and the all-night diner that's now a Mexican restaurant that he was photographed at, and they're all on frontage roads. The gas station's on a frontage road. Everything's on a frontage road.
It's that area between business and none of your business that is
Right, because
part of America.
You're exactly right, Mikey, because you can't help get the feeling as you're traveling down a frontage road and you pass the first couple of gas stations and stuff like that, you're really not supposed to be down here.
No, this is not a place for you, Bubba.
There,
Why don't you get back on the freeway and disappear?
and many times you realize that there's no place to turn around on the frontage road.
And if you're on the frontage road, in many places, there's no place to go. It's just sort of
It's frontage.
It merges with the freeway and ceases to exist. It was frontage a minute ago, and now it's nothing.
That there's usually just a fence there and a little bit more of a cutout so you can turn around, although some states have cut that out. DeSantis has a big cutout.
They don't go for the ice plant or any amenities. It's just a fence.
It's a fence, and it has just a sign on it that says "end."
Yeah.
End. So it doesn't say if it's the end, if it's telling you to end. Is this your end? Is this
there
the
another
end
end?
of the other side? Yeah,
You
is
know
there
how
another end?
You know how the end of everything is the beginning of something else. So where's the beginning after the end?
One fence open, another one closes. Or is it the other way around? One fence closes and another one opens.
That was a hit by the fifth dimension, wasn't it? One fence closes.
Well, I think it was one less fence to open. A Burt Bacharach song.
Where are you, Bert? He's in heaven writing a hit.
One less fence to open. And then and when you get to the southwestern states, you get those grills that they put in the road. You ever see those so the cows don't walk over them?
Because the cows will get on the freeway and trying to hitch out of town.
But of course, there are the nitwits, or maybe they're really smart. We just don't know.
That's how Kirsten Sinema got in the Senate. She was hitchhiking with her Holstein suit. I saw this I know this is true. I saw it in People magazine. Hitchhiking in her Holstein suit, and next thing she knew, she was a senator in Washington.
Mikey,
you know that's true.
Why do you hurt me so, Mikey? What have I done to you?
Why do you love this woman? She's not good for you. You know she's no good for you. That's why you love her. You know,
am I going to come with you on these things that I got to do, or are you going to? You gonna take your?
It's either Superman or Paul Hagen. Who am I talking to here? It's either Superman or Paul. Tom
Hagen.
Tom. Please.
It's funny how we can turn everything into an episode of Superman or something from The Godfather.
And he looks uncomfortably at his stack of papers.
Esposta. He answers him in Italian. I'm coming with you. Now, did you happen to see our Facebook, my little Facebook announcement about our show today?
No. What did you announce?
Well, I didn't announce anything, but I found and I posted. I took a screenshot of it in my travels over YouTube this week. Well, I actually found this a few months ago, forgot about it, and found it again. There is one of the creepiest YouTube channels that you'll ever come across. There's this guy that does age generation photos.
He makes you younger and older.
So he'll take, well, what he does is he takes stars that died before their time, and he does a thing of what they would look like today.
How would Elvis look, I wonder?
And well, he has Elvis up there, and the one that I pulled down that he has is the first one. Is what would George Reeves look like today?
Wow.
So if you go to my Facebook page, I'm going to see if I can bring it up here. I don't know if I can. There is a picture of George Reeves and what he would look like at the sullen age
At
of
the age of 85 or whatever he'd be, or
yeah,
90.
something. I forget exactly what he would be now, but it was. Here, let me see if I can make this work real quick. All right, I think that means it works. So
George Reeves, by the way, the actor who played Superman on television in black and white.
yeah, no, I
Got
don't
an
want
untimely
this.
end.
Yeah, some say by his own hand, and others say by the hand of any number of
Producers,
people.
executive producers to be named later.
Well, was who was it that they thought Eddie Mannion? No, not Eddie Mannion. He's the sax player. Eddie.
Was it Biff Jiggerman?
No, it was the executive for I think it was MGM Pictures, whose wife he was nailing, who was
I told you
buying
to stay
him
away from that.
Eddie Mannix.
Eddie Mannix. There you go.
All right, I'm trying to see if I can make this. Anyway, if you go to the Facebook page, it's on there, and
How
you'll
did
be
he
able
look?
to see. He looked good. He looked surprisingly. I thought he looked okay for for being dead.
Hard
I mean,
to overstate that.
yeah. I mean, he was pretty. He's been pretty dead since 1959.
That's
Uh,
thoroughly dead, completely and thoroughly dead.
yeah, he was about as dead as you're gonna get, man. I don't know that anybody could be deader. But yeah, no, he looked good.
He looked
You
comfortable
know,
in his suit.
in his aging. I mean, I remember one year I went to a Halloween party as old Superman, and it was pretty funny. I had gray hair and the belly, obviously, and the costume, and I just I had the glasses on, so well, I need
Did,
glasses now. But
did
if
you
I got
fly at
asked,
all?
no, I was, but it wasn't. It was a different. What Halloween it was
You
too
were
was interesting.
flying.
It was the Halloween after the earthquake.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to this party over in Oakland. So I had to take Bart over to Oakland because you couldn't drive. You had to go all the way
Couldn't.
around. So it was
You got
quicker
to go
for me to,
around. Come around, idiot. Come
yeah,
around.
it was just quicker to go take Bart. So I took Bart over to Oakland and was dressed up as Superman on a Bart train. I went, hell, I may as well just go in a costume.
I'm going,
I'm
and
going.
you're coming with. And Jimmy, you're coming with me.
And I had an extra pair of glasses, and I took a Bernzomatic torch, and I torched both lenses, and I put the glasses on, and I had the glass, and somebody at the party asked me, said, "Well, why do your glasses look like that?" I said, "Well, sometimes I forget to take them off when I use my heat vision."
That's right. I've destroyed more wonderful outfits that way.
One of my best costumes ever. I wish I had pictures of that because it really was. I really did it up. I thought
This is
about
how
it.
I used to keep track of games. Here's my notes from yesterday's football game. Pages of it. I didn't use any of it in the show today, but I just wanted you to know that I was watching the game and taking notes.
I obviously appreciate that. And no, Michael, do you keep all your old notes?
No, not
See,
all of them.
I'm the only one. I guess I'm the only one. I mean, I like you have just tablets and tablets of. Let me see if I can get this one real quick. I didn't use it for the show, but I used it for the Super Bowl
Yeah, we
yesterday.
take copious notes, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't use them in the show, so that'll give you
Well,
some
yeah, it
idea.
would ruin our flavor. But
We ruin the flow of the show.
I mean, I have a ton of notes that I take, but I keep all of my notes. I mean, I have stuff that when we were doing the show, I got boxes and they're in the boxes and they say KJR 1993.
Wow. Well, not me.
So yeah, and it's funny because I don't know why I keep them, but I
But you
figure
can't
maybe
throw them
someday
away.
when they do the movie, but I can't throw them away. And I actually asked my the guy I worked with in Pittsburgh for a few years if he kept them. He says, "Nah, I throw them away the minute I'm done with them. I just toss them."
That's sort of the way it is in radio. When you finish the day, all the work you've done for that show is now dated, like a newspaper,
Yeah,
and so I don't keep it for that reason. What I did keep some of is I used to have for the show in Wenatchee, each at the top of the first hour, I would do an introduction, free form, written with music underneath, describing what the show was going to be like and the guests that was coming up
right.
and with my own take on it, my own delving into the absurdity of existence in general, and specifically what we were going to be talking about that day. Some of those I saved because of the timing involved. In fact, one of them was an introduction to you with a car show that we did together. We talked about the the need of humans, especially Americans, to get on the road to escape.
Right, right.
That feeling of getting behind the wheel to go. When you plan a road trip, there's an excitement
Yeah.
of getting in
You,
the car and taking off.
look how excited we got 5 minutes ago. We were talking about frontage roads.
There you go.
I
For all
mean,
the
we're talking
right for
about
all the right
frontage roads
reasons.
like it's a trip, like Discover America's frontage roads.
Like it's a real thing, and it isn't. We made that up, and you can thank us later. You can think about it when you get on the frontage road. If you're heading here in L.A., there's an interesting frontage road in Pasadena that runs along the 210, and it doesn't do anything of any interest, and it's kind of ugly, and it's not anything you'd write home about, but it's there. They've gone to the trouble of making it, so we celebrate that frontage road with something that it'll never get in its own lifetime, and that is recognition and appreciation. We, we,
There
we
is there's a frontage road that I've always loved in Flintstone, Maryland.
now we're getting
Yes,
now we're getting weird.
yes. There's a town called Flintstone, Maryland. It has nothing to do with the Flintstones. It's
Of
just
course not.
Flintstone, Maryland. And there's a frontage road, and along this frontage road, they have constructed like the world's biggest cross. I mean, the cross is like 1,000 feet high and 1,000 feet wide. I mean, it's a humongous. You can see it for miles and miles and miles.
Is there
But
anybody
people,
is there anybody nailed on that cross, or is this
you wouldn't see them if they are so small,
okay?
unless they were, But no, they haven't put anybody on the cross yet. I'm thinking they would probably put Joe Biden or probably Obama if they could if they could.
No doubt.
But it's one of those. But there's people lined up all the time on the frontage road
To have a look
taking
at
a
it.
taking a picture, and then of course right past it is a square sign that says "end" with reflectors on it.
which is more than just makeup and rouge. That what they're saying is here's the cross. Enjoy it while you can because here's the end.
Here's the end. I always, every time I would look at that cross and drive down that frontage road, because I would do it from time to time, and see that gate that said "end," I always wondered, is that it?
Is
Nobody seems to be going through it.
that's the Peggy Lee frontage road.
Is that all there is?
That's. I'm not saying that's all there is, Peggy. I'm just saying this is the end.
Oh man, we've gone off the rails, Mikey, and that's a good thing.
That's a great thing. Let's get together for a wacky Wednesday.
Yes, let's do Wednesday morning at 10:10. Michael Knight, New York Vinnie will join you again. We thank you, our YouTube audience that has joined us, and please hit the subscribe button and the like button, so this way it'll send us out to more people, so they can.
And don't forget about the frontage road button. Hit that.
And the frontage road button, but hit those buttons on YouTube, and please, by all means, where'd you go, Mikey? All of a sudden, Mikey was there, and then he wasn't anymore. By all means, thank you for listening to our show, and we'll catch up with you Wednesday morning if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Until then, peace, love, and Manischewitz, as Mikey would say. What a wine. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.